If you have a 7-month-old baby and are wondering what to do all day long with your baby, how many feedings your baby should have, what sleep should look like for your baby, then you are in luck because you are on the right video. In this video, I will talk all about what to expect for eating, everything you need to know about sleeping, everything you need to know about playtime, and I will share a few sample schedules for you to look at and get an idea of what your 7-month-old should be doing each day. But first, hello, my name is Valerie. I blog at babywisemom.com. I have been blogging there since the year 2007. I have 4 children who currently range in age from 11 to 18 years old. And I absolutely love helping parents love parenting and helping you solve all of your questions and problems to make life easier. The first thing we're going to talk about is eating. Something that might come as really great news to you is that during the 7-month-old period, you're not really going to see a lot of changes for the eating portion of your baby's day. That can be really nice because babies seem to change so much so often that it's always nice when there's a time period where things are just kind of status quo and what you have come to know. Something that might change this month is you might add in finger foods if you don't have any kind of finger foods yet. 7 months old is the most common time when people start to dabble in finger foods. So that's a good thing to check out if your baby doesn't do any finger foods yet. But of course, it is absolutely not necessary. It's just something that you can do if you feel like your baby might enjoy it. With your 7-month-old, you should have 4 to 5 liquid feedings in a day. So you'll have at least 4. If you still have a dream feed, then you will have 5 liquid feedings in a day. You will also have up to 3 solid feedings in a day. You don't have to have 3. But if you're well established in solids, then you probably have 3 times each day that you're feeding solid foods. If you are just introducing solids or haven't started yet, then you won't have 3 yet. But that is where you are eventually working up to, is 3 solid feedings in a day. These solid feedings should happen at the same time as liquid feedings. You have 4 liquid feedings and 3 solid feedings. That means there will be 1 liquid feeding without solid foods. And of course, if you have a dream feed, that's a 5th liquid feeding, but we're not feeding solids at the dream feed for sure. You'll want to feed your solids with your first feeding of the day, your second feeding of the day, and then decide between the 3rd and 4th. Pick whichever one makes the most sense for your baby, which works the best for your schedule. And of course, if you want to skip the first feeding of the day of solids, you can, and you can do the last 3. You can really do whatever works, but most people do a first, so it's kind of like breakfast. A second is close-ish to lunchtime, and then the 3rd and 4th feedings kind of awkwardly land like before and after what time a lot of people have dinner. So that's why it's kind of this ambiguous, pick whichever works best for you. After each feeding each day, you will have playtime, also known as wake time, also called the wake window. So of course, the wake window does include the time it took baby to eat. And as you introduce solids, typically the feeding takes longer than it used to. So, a baby just on liquid feedings gets pretty fast. Some only take 5 minutes. Some may still take 20-ish, maybe even 30-ish, but still you're looking at 5 to at most 30 minutes, but most are really in the 5 to 20 minute length of time for those liquid feedings until you add solids. And then the time takes much longer. So a lot more of your playtime will be taken up with eating as you add solids. Overall, your wake window, total time awake between waking up from one nap till going down for the next nap or bedtime if you're at the end of the day, should range from 1 hour and 45 minutes to 2 hours and 15 minutes long. There can always be outliers. Your baby could need less than 1 hour and 45 minutes of awake time. Your baby could need more than 2 hours and 15 minutes of awake time. Most babies do fall in that range of 1 hour, 45 minutes to 2 hours and 15 minutes. So that's a good window to work within to try to find that perfect time. For your 7-month-old, you should have 1 independent playtime length each day that is 30 to 45 minutes. It is possible that you could have 2 independent playtimes each day that are 30 to 45 minutes each. Most people will only have just 1, but you could possibly have 2. If you haven't started yet, this is a great age to start teaching sign language, and especially during meal times when your child starts to eat solid foods, there's a lot of great opportunity for teaching sign language like more or please or thank you. There's a lot of things you can teach your baby that can help with mealtime, and your child can feel motivated. Also, another great one is all done. And so if you have interest in teaching your child sign language, be sure to see my information on that. Something else that's good to keep in mind with a 7-month-old is that boundaries are a good thing for your 7-month-old. Your 7-month-old might be starting to have some mobility, and so some boundaries may be more needed than they used to be when your baby couldn't move at all. It's okay for you to have things that are off limits, and you should have things that are off limits because not everything is safe for a 7-month-old. So it's okay for you to have things that are no's, things your child cannot touch, things your child cannot do. That's perfectly fine. It helps keep your baby safe, and it's reasonable to tell your baby no, to redirect them, and to expect them to listen. They will not be perfect at it, but it's okay to expect it. Just also expect that they will not always listen. But as you set these boundaries and have consistent expectations, your baby will learn that there are boundaries, there are expectations. Mom and dad are consistent about it, so I will have to listen because I'm always going to be expected to do it. And so it's good to get started. As soon as they start pushing those boundaries, it's good to have them, and it's good so that as they get older, then they can be a little bit easier when it comes time for tantrums. The next thing we will talk about in your baby's day is sleep. A 7-month-old should have 2 to 3 naps each day. A 7-month-old might be ready to drop the 3rd nap and might have already dropped the 3rd nap at 6 months old. The range for dropping the 3rd nap is 6 to 10 months old, so it may have already happened, but the average is 8 months old. Most babies drop it as an 8-month-old, so don't feel like, oh no, my 7-month-old still has 3 naps. Like, that's totally fine. But it is a good thing to be aware of and start watching for signs that your baby might be ready to drop that 3rd nap. The first 2 naps should be 1.5 to 2.5 hours each. The 3rd nap will most likely be a short nap that ranges from 30 to 60 minutes. A very high sleep needs baby may have a longer nap, but most babies at 7 months old will be between 30 to 60 minutes for that 3rd nap if they still have it. Your baby also might be ready to drop the dream feed. If your baby still has a dream feed, be aware of what the signs are that show that your baby is ready to drop it. I do have blog posts and videos on that, so be sure to check those out if you're wondering if your baby is ready to drop the dream feed. For night sleep, your baby should sleep 10 to 12 hours total from bedtime to morning wake time. And of course, if you have a dream feed, then that cuts into the actual sleeping part, but from the time your baby has bedtime to morning wake up time should be about 10 to 12 hours. Another thing to be aware of is there may be a sleep regression around this age. There are a lot of common reasons that babies don't sleep well between 5 and 8 months old, and I have a blog post and video all about that. So be sure to check either one of those out for information if your baby is having trouble sleeping. Might be a sleep regression, but it could be other things like learning to crawl, learning to sit up, teething. There's just so many things that can interfere with sleep at this age. So if you're having sleep troubles, make sure to check that out. And last but definitely not least are the sample schedules. This graphic shows just a few different schedules that my children used at this age. I tried to pick some that were a little bit different from each other so you can see what are good ideas of things to include and what might happen. All 3 of these schedules do have a 3rd nap. These are all of my girls, and they were all high sleep needs. And actually Braden still had a 3rd nap at that age. And that could have been just that I was a first-time parent and didn't realize that maybe he could have dropped it. But it was a very short nap. He still had a 3rd nap, even at that age. So I have a lot of sample schedules for this age with my blog post on this topic. So make sure you head to that and you scroll down and you look at all of the schedules. I have sample schedules for every week of 7 months old. And I also have a lot of sample schedules from readers. Readers have shared their schedules, and they're a great resource for you to look at and find what matches up best with your baby, your family, and what kind of schedule you're looking for. Okay, that does it for our sample schedules for 7 months old. If you have any questions, as always, please drop them in the comments. I will answer. And thanks for watching and have a great day.